Yeah. No, it is your boy D47 all day for real AM PM on the grind, handling that business, revisiting as much rugby league information as possible. Right now, the 1960 wooden spoon in Australian rugby league going to Parramatta Eels, their 5th straight out of 6 consecutive wooden spoons. In my opinion, the worst of the 6 spoons. And so you're not missing any crucial rugby league information, watching this video all the way through to the end. And if you are a long-suffering Parramatta fan, we're nearly over. Just got this, then we got 1961 wooden spoon. Then in 1962, other teams finally start getting the wooden spoon. So, the 5th of the 6 consecutive wooden spoons, in my opinion, the worst of all of them, and we'll explain exactly why. I have been extremely critical of Parramatta, especially in 1957 and in 1959 wooden spoons, but in my personal opinion, this one the worst of them all. So let's pop it off, get straight into it. As I always say, there were 18 games in the season at that point in time, and Parramatta doing the usual, winning just 2 and losing 16 to end up with their 5th straight wooden spoon. In attack, they scored 215 points, but in defence, conceded a massive 453 points, minus 238 points for and against. At least, though, a tiny little something to celebrate for them. The top try scorer in 1960, his name was Robin Gair, Gair, Robin Gair, and he got 9 tries this time in 1960 for Parramatta, so props to Robin Gair. I said in the previous video in 1959 that he was their leading try scorer with 6 tries. Well, this time he got 9 tries, so he improved a little bit. At least they had one player who was doing a little something, and the leading point scorer, his name was Keith Griffiths, and he got no tries, 28 goals, 56 points for Parramatta in 1960. And we always do the moment in the sun and most embarrassing moments, so it's a pretty straightforward moment in the sun. The only 2 games that Parramatta did win in 1960. In round 11, they'd beaten South 15 points to 7, and in round 15, they'd beaten Canterbury 30-18. Those 2 wins both at Cumberland Oval at their home ground at the time, so at least Robin Gair improved a bit, and at least they managed to get 2 wins in front of their long-suffering home fans. But the most embarrassing moment, and this is why, in my opinion, it's the worst of the 6 straight wooden spoons, and it's not the fact that they lost the first 10 straight games, that they did lose the first 10 straight games, but that's not what I think is the most embarrassing moment. It's not the fact that in round 1, they were annihilated by St George 52-0, and in that game, St George put 10 tries on them. And like I always say, tries used to be 3 points at the time, so if tries were 4 points back then, that actually would have been a 62-0 annihilation. That's not the most embarrassing moment. The most embarrassing moment is the fact that after the 52-point loss to St George in round 1, that obviously put Parramatta in last place after round 1 of the 1960 season with the for and against at minus 52. Then, after round 2, 1960, Parramatta was still in last place. After round 3, they were still in last place. After round 4, they were still in last place. The most embarrassing moment in 1960 for Parramatta is the fact that they spent every single week of the competition, they spent all 18 rounds of the competition in dead last place. With the other 5 wooden spoons, the other 5 of these 6 straight wooden spoons they got, when they sometimes had the odd win or 2 here and there, sometimes momentarily, for a few weeks of said seasons, they'd find themselves in 2nd or 3rd last on the ladder, before eventually losing more games and eventually finishing last. But in 1960, they were last every single round of the competition, unfortunately. That 52-point loss in round 1 put them in last place, and they weren't getting out of it. And by the time they finally did win 2 games in round 11 over South and in round 15 over Canterbury, those 2 wins were not going to be anywhere near enough to get them out of last place. So there you go. There's Parramatta's 1960 wooden spoon. Eels fans hang in, just one more, 1961. In 1961, even though they got the spoon again, they did at least start the season well. They had a tiny little bright patch to start the season in 1961, which I think is quite incredible. So stay tuned for that. Look forward to that. And if you're still watching all the way through to the end, thank you so much for ongoing, brutal, pulverising, malevolent support. Your boy all day, D47. Toodaloo.